We're going to be ranking the top 25 rookie wide receivers. We're going to be putting them into tiers, and we're going to be talking about their dynasty fantasy football values for the long term. Before we do all this, you need to click that subscribe button right now because we're talking about these rookie drafts every single day this offseason. We're helping you build your teams and everything else. But what you see here is the tier maker. We're going to put these wide receivers into tiers at random. We're going to talk about them. We're going to talk about their values, and we're going to be talking about how to strategize around them. So let's talk about our first wide receiver, Keon Coleman. Come on down. Keon Coleman, a very interesting wide receiver prospect. A few months ago, he was valued as a top-end first-round pick, around the 105 range in mock draft sometimes. Then he kept sliding down, 106, 107, 108. Now he's going to around the middle of the second round in rookie mock drafts. We got to see where he's going to be valued at the NFL draft. But he's not a supreme separator, but we got good ball skills. We're great at the catch point. We got good length. When we think about Keon Coleman, he's a wide receiver that needs to go in the right spot. Of course, he's not an S tier. Of course, he would not be an A tier. Would you put him in B tier? I just don't think that's right for me. I think anything lower than really D or C is too low. I think C tier right now, until we get more guys on the list here to rank, is probably going to be about right for his ranking as of right now. But we're moving on to our next wide receiver here. And come on down, Ladd McConkey. And let's talk about this guy because I think he's going to get decent draft capital. Getting drafted in the first round might be a stretch, but in the second round, we should hear his name called. He creates separation. We got good speed. We're still waiting for him to break out at Georgia. That never happened. Wasn't productive enough, but people loved him at the Senior Bowl. People love his tape. We know he can break off routes and create separation, but still, we've had a lot of wide receivers do that and not hit, but was not productive either at the college level, but got a hype train. He's not going to be a first wide receiver from Georgia to have a good highlight package, do well in offseason, not be productive. Ain't that right, Riley Ridley? But Ladd McConkey, definitely not an S tier guy, not an A tier guy for sure. B tier's a little rich for my blood. I think he's in that Keon Coleman realm. What I like about him compared to Keon Coleman is how he creates separation, but Keon Coleman's got better production. Better production portfolio, creates separation a little bit, more on the side of what the NFL is looking for in a wide receiver. I think this tier here are good wide receivers with some blemishes that need to go in the right situation. We know they're probably or more than likely going to get draft capital. That is the story with C here, as we see right now. We're moving on to our next wide receiver coming off the board here, Brendan Rice. Brendan Rice. I like him a lot. I think draft capital is going to be really funny with him, but I think he could be a sneaky guy on day 2. Might sneak in there in the back half of the second round, early third round. We have to see, but I like how he breaks off routes. He's very assertive. Right situation, could be a big-time player. When I think about his ranking here, I don't know if I can put him in C with these guys. I feel like these guys will get better draft capital, which increases their odds of hitting. I think D is a good spot for him. And you got to think about the D tier here. Any other year, D is like B. This is a deeper class, or at least a top-end C. I might push him up to C later, so you're going to have to watch the whole video if you're a Brendan Rice fan. But he's never going to be an E or F. That's not happening. Could jump to C. Definitely D. Definitely there for sure. Might make it to E if he lands in a supreme situation. Chargers, Chiefs, or something crazy like that. Could go all the way up to here even. I like him that much. But I want to be conservative. I want to fight against my biases. I'm going to put him here at D because that's what I got to do. Moving on to our next wide receiver, A.D. Mitchell. Throwing him up on the board. I like A.D. Mitchell a lot. Has good size adjusted athleticism, can break off routes, can get downfield. More than likely, he's going to get that draft capital. We know the Buffalo Bills have to draft a wide receiver. He fits well with them, but we do not know if that's going to happen. But when I think about A.D. Mitchell, look at him here with the tiers. No way in hell. A? I don't know. I don't know about that. I think B tier. Guys I like with draft capital and upside, but I can't throw them up here. That's what I like. I think he could get first round draft capital, if not high end second round, and I think we're good to go with that. Our next player, and I want to talk about him now. I said it was at random, but I want to talk about him now. Javon Baker, throw him up there. This is a wide receiver that if you do not have the capital to pay for a wide receiver, like one of the top guys in the first round, you just have second round picks, third round picks, this could be your guy. This guy breaks off routes. He's assertive. He's aggressive. He's a guy that looks like he could break out. I like him a lot. I can't rank him too high because I think the draft capital may not be there. But if he gets drafted in the top 60, I'm putting him ahead of these guys. If I'm just ranking wide receivers, he's ahead of these guys. But I'm playing the game of Dynasty and playing the game of hit rates. I think him and Brendan Rice, I think they're a good pair. I actually like D tier better than C tier right now. That's funny. That's funny to say, but I like D tier better than C tier. C tier are guys getting better draft capital, and I'm just waiting to see what happens with them. D tier are guys that might get a little bit lesser draft capital, but they're very solid. They're very solid. It doesn't make sense, but we're playing hit rates here. Moving on to our next player, Xavier Legette. Come on down. The size adjust athleticism is there, and he tested to it. I told you guys months ago that if he failed the combine, we got to fail him out because he's kind of raw, but at the Senior Bowl, he showed he can break off routes. He just wasn't really asked to do it. I bet you with some development, we might have a big-time player. If you're looking for a wide receiver that we might be overlooking that could hit on this might be our guy. But when it comes to the rankings, I can't put him in C tier. D tier might be a spot. I think draft capital is going to be okay. I think he's going to get draft capital around these guys. I like Baker and Rice better. These two guys are my guys when it comes to the wide receiver spot. Those are my two guys in the draft who are not getting top tier draft capital that I like a lot. But we're moving on to our next player. Brian Thomas Jr., come on down, and we like him a lot, but the draft community likes him, so we don't talk about him too much. Good release package. He's very electric, has a lot of burst, makes plays happen because he's got good ball skills and he's quick, runs into 4.3s as well. That being said, draft capital's there. I think the likelihood of him hitting is pretty good and the likelihood of him landing in a good spot. I'm going to put him in A tier. I did have him previously in B tier with A.D. Mitchell. I like him better than A.D. Mitchell. I think he has a better shot at hitting than A.D. Mitchell. I'm going to put him in A. I like him better. I like him more. I want him more, and I'm going to be drafting him more. And I think the market's saying the same thing. That being said, Xavier Worthy, come on down. Dude's got speed for days. Broke out at age 18. Was productive throughout his career. Production profile hits. Athletic profile hits. The tape hits. Breaks off routes. Can get you deep. Can get you short. Can get you with the yak. I like him here in B tier. I like him. He's one of my guys. I like him better than McConkey because he actually broke out. He's faster. He can break off routes just as good almost. Keon Coleman, more productive. Faster, quicker, more for today's game. B tier. Similar draft capital, probably these guys, maybe a little better. B tier. That's where I want him at. That's where he's going to be at. I'm going to have some Xavier Worthy on my team. I may be playing with ADP with him a little bit more, but I like these two. We got the Texas boys here at B. Next guy, Jacob Cowing, and he broke out at age 18 as well. When I think about him, he's a flyer in the back half of rookie drafts. I don't want to overthink him or underthink him. I'm going to put him at E right now. I like that he broke out early. He was productive with 2 different collegiate programs, and I like that. But come on down, Ricky Pearsall. Ricky Pearsall is one of my favorite wide receivers in this class. I like him a lot. I like him so much that I got to put him in the Bruce tier. He's got his own tier, and he's going right here. And with my guys here at D, it's Javon Baker, Brendan Rice, and Ricky Pearsall. Those are my targets in the second round, early third round. These 3 guys right here, they are my targets. I'm going to move Jacob Cowing down to F. F may be long, and Legette goes to E. D is going to be my guys. My guys. But my guys are guys that are not getting top-tier draft capital. That being said, Javon Baker, Brendan Rice, and Ricky Pearsall are not getting top-tier draft capital. Pearsall, Rice may go in the second round. Baker probably third round. I don't know for sure. That's just my uneducated guess from reading the tea leaves from mock drafts that are not really real. That being said, let's move on and let's go to Johnny Wilson here. I like Johnny Wilson a lot. Big wide receiver, could move to tight end, has a lot of upside. But when I think about Johnny Wilson, he's a flyer in the back end of rookie drafts. A flyer wide receiver, that's what F means, flyer. Flyer. Doesn't mean failed. I don't think we have many failed wide receivers in this class. He's a flyer. He's good. I like him a lot. I'm going to be taking stabs in the back end of rookie drafts, especially if he goes in the right spot. Definitely keeping an eye out on him. Moving on, Malachi Corley, come on down. Steve Smith loves him. Big, thick, physical wide receiver who can play in the slot and get you yards after the catch. A G5 prospect at that. Those players can be a little bit scary. When I think about him, I like him a little bit more than these guys, but I think those guys will get a little bit better draft capital. Pearsall, Rice, Baker. That's my guy section. That's my guy section. The thing is, I'm not going to be with Steve Smith on anything. And I think I got him in the category of Xavier Legette here, where you're very good. Any other draft class, you're probably around this range here. But this class is so deep and weird that you're going to be down here. And you have some attributes that could allow you to hit. And I think you're going to be an E. Remember, if you're an E, you're flirting around here any other draft. Like last year, you're around here. Legette's around here last year. Somewhere around here. But this draft is so deep. It's just the way it is. Just the way it is. Tiers aren't the same. We may have to add in last year's wide receivers in this group. We're going to have to do the rankings twice just to get a good idea. 1 for the profiles. 2 for the Monday morning quarterback tiers due to looking at those rookies from last year. Because guys like Puka Nacua, things changed drastically. That being said, come on down, Tez Walker. Tez Walker is an interesting profile because he can stretch it deep. That means ADOT, that means air yards, that means splash plays. Splash plays could be big performances in fantasy. So a quarterback that pushes it downfield could be big for him, especially if he's the wide receiver 2 or 3. Could be a splash play guy. That being said, when you look at him, I can't put him with these guys because I need some credibility with tier E. He has not been good this draft season. The Senior Bowl wasn't that great. Tez Walker has good tape. He has good hands. So doesn't this guy. I'm going to put him here at the top of tier F. I'm going to put him right there. I still like him, but he's a flyer for me too. Moving on to our next guy, Malik Washington. He's a flyer, but he's a flyer that I want a lot because he has a lot of upside. Productive as hell. Looked good at the Shrine game. Has been looking good this draft season. And when you look at him, you know he's going in the back half of rookie drafts. You can't put him really with E. So I'm going to put him here in the flyer territory. And I'm just grading out my flyers in the back half. It's not an F tier. It's a flyer tier. So let's put that in there. Flyer. Flyer players in the back half of our drafts that we're looking at. And I kind of got them ranked like this so far. Moving on to our next player here, Cornelius Johnson. He's a flyer that I do not want to put a flyer on. That being said, he wasn't productive at Michigan. When I watch him on tape, it's kind of slow out of the release. His breaks aren't that great. Bigger wide receiver, ball skills are there. Really needs to go in the right situation and climb that depth chart right there at the end of the flyer territory. Don't really like him too much as a prospect, but here we are. Moving on to our next wide receiver, Jamari Thrash. He's another flyer, but I like him. He's got good short area quickness. He's got speed downfield. He's a guy that could be a sneaky play. That being said, I don't like Cornelius Johnson. I like Wilson, Cowing, Washington, Tez. Putting him Probably right here-ish. Right there-ish. Right there. I think he can really be productive for you in fantasy if he goes in the right situation, especially in a situation that pushes the ball downfield. Ainias Smith, another flyer, but I don't like him too much. I like Cornelius Johnson a little bit more, but if Ainias Smith goes somewhere like the Dolphins or something like that, maybe we'll look at him in the 5th round of rookie drafts. Maybe not. We'll see, but I don't like him too much, so he's in the back end of that. Next, Jalen McMillan, another flyer wide receiver, but a top-end flyer. I like him a little bit better in counting. He breaks off routes pretty well. He's with this batch here. So I'm going to put him in E, actually. I'm going to put him in E. He could sneak up with some draft capital. I think his nuance could allow a team to fall in love with him, and I don't think he's going to fall too far down the board. Next player coming off the board, Roman Wilson. We got to talk about a big dog wide receiver. Roman Wilson has top-tier speed, was kind of quiet at the combine, but was still alright. Still had good numbers. Everybody was just blazing the track. That's a good thing. Everyone's quiet about him now, but he should get decent draft capital. When I think about him, he belongs in this tier here, but I want him at the top of the tier. He's not really in my guys. My guys are my guys, and those are my guys. Those are the guys that are going 2nd, 3rd round of rookie drafts, who I'm planting flags on. These are popular guys. Has a little bit of red flags on them. Production for Roman Wilson. Senior wide receiver. But he has good tape. He has good athletic specs. I like him better than Keon Coleman. I like him better than McConkey. Let's put him in C. C tier is kind of mixed together, but I do like Roman Wilson the best out of that trio. Moving on to our next wide receiver, Germaine Burton, come on down. And I think he is a very underrated wide receiver in this class. But he needs to step his game up. He needs to get stronger. He needs to play stronger at the catch point, off the release, and everything else. That being said, though, he can get downfield, create separation. He's a guy that could be a sneaky play on the right team. I'm going to put him at the top of the flyer territory. I can't put him in E. I don't think he's going to get the draft capital for that, but could be a guy that can climb a depth chart quickly if given the opportunity. Next, let's go with a big dog here, Troy Franklin. I got him comped to like a Devonta Smith. Very cerebral route runner who can get downfield, can be very productive, has good hands, a little lanky, but still can get the job done. A lot of people hating on the lankiness, but you know what? Can still get the job done. He's probably one of the smartest wide receivers in this year's draft. That being said, I'm putting him in B, and I'm going to put him at the top of B. I think the upside is grand with him. Could be one of the most productive wide receivers in the draft. Landing spot is going to matter. Next is Jaylen Pul. The thing about him, he's another flyer-esque wide receiver. I say flyer-esque because he was productive last year. He can get downfield, make plays happen, should have a good ADOT at the NFL level, and he had it at the college level. I'm going to put him here at E with McMillan. Those two guys are going to oscillate together. Just think of these guys flipping back and forth here at E. But he has some upside. You got to watch where he goes in the draft. Next, coming off the board, Tez Washington. I got him as another flyer wide receiver. I like him better than Johnson and Smith. Around the Johnny Wilson range. Create separation, can get downfield. But coming to the big dogs, Odunze. I like him a little better than Brian Thomas. Situation's going to matter. I think Brian Thomas is going to go a little bit later in the first round. Could go to a better quarterback. Could allow him to be productive earlier in his career. Odunze, I loved him last year. When I was watching Pac-12 After Dark, I was loving me some Odunze. Everybody loves Odunze, so I don't talk about him too much. I don't want to be too hip to the crowd. Looked good at the combine. Looks great. I think Odunze has top-tier upside. Can be a top 10 wide receiver. I think his startup draft value is going to go through the roof throughout the offseason. I think he's going to gain more steam. I think he's a great pick in the first round. I'm not worried about him. But going to tier S, let's put them together. You know what I'm doing here. Malik Neighbors, Marvin Harrison Jr. When I look at these two wide receivers, they're both generational prospects. and I change my mind on them by the minute, by the hour, by the day. One guy's my number 1, the next guy's my number 2, and then I'll flip it in a little bit because I like them both. They're great prospects. I think the odds of them hitting are both very good. The odds of them becoming a top-level prospect for Dynasty Fantasy Football is elite, and no matter the situation, you want these guys on your team. If you could get both somehow, that's amazing. But I love Marvin Harrison Jr. I love Malik Neighbors. If I could get them both on my team, I would. I do not have a wide receiver 1. I have a wide receiver 1 and 1B. 1A, 1B, whatever you want to call it. It's a stud tier. I like them both. Situation could impact this. Neighbors goes to a better situation, which is more than likely. Then yeah, I might draft a little bit more Neighbors than Harrison Jr. But I want them both. But those are the rookie rankings for the wide receiver spot for this week. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Make sure to hit that subscribe button on the way out. Thanks for watching. Catch you on the next video.